Beneath the scorched crust of the African earth, something moves. Claws rake through soil hardened by months of sun. Each strike deliberate, powerful, impatient. The ground erupts in violent bursts as a stocky, muscular shape forces its way into the open. The animal emerges crouched low, shoulders hunched, and head heavy with determination. Its black and white coat is torn with dust and blood that is not its own. This is not a creature that waits. The honey badger does not stalk like a cat, nor charge like a bull. It advances, step by step with its snout pressed to the ground, reading a hidden language written in scent and vibration. Each movement is calculated, each pause loaded with purpose. It is small compared with the giants of this land, smaller than the lions, lighter than the hyenas, but the savannah does not measure power only by size. Somewhere nearby, a snake coils in the shade, its scales catching fragments of light. Its fangs drip venom, evolved to stop hearts and still lungs. The honey badger does not retreat. It lunges, jaws snap shut. Venom floods the flesh. For an instant the world staggers. Muscles contract. The badger collapses into the dust, motionless. Minutes pass. Then, incredibly, it rises again. This is a land shaped by fear. Every animal here knows its place in the hierarchy. Who hunts, who flees, who dies. The honey badger exists outside that order. It raids hives guarded by thousands of stingers. It opens burrows reinforced by claws sharper than its own. It charges predators that outweigh it, baring its teeth not in desperation, but as a warning. Back away, or you will bleed. Its skin hangs loose over dense muscle, armor that twists beneath the grip of jaws. Its bite is not quick, but final, clamped, crushing, refusing to release. When cornered, it becomes more dangerous, not less. Pain does not stop it. Threats do not deter it. Experience has taught every creature here the same lesson. The cost of confrontation is never predictable. Dust swirls as it moves again, vanishing into tall grass, gilded by the sun. Birds scatter. Insects fall silent. Even the wind seems to hesitate. The honey badger does not announce itself, but its presence transforms the space around it. Where it walks, tension follows. This reputation did not arise from legend alone. It was earned through thousands of encounters, through surviving where survival should not have been possible, through a refusal to yield that borders on the unbelievable. Intelligence sharpens its aggression. Memory guides its decisions. It learns, adapts, and returns. Not because it is brave, but because fear has never been enough. This is not a story of domination, it is a story of defiance, of an animal that refuses to follow the rules at all costs, that survives by confronting danger and daring it to try harder. Welcome to the world of the honey badger. Dawn slowly spreads across the African plains, dissolving the darkness, but not the danger. Silhouettes emerge from the dimness, some motionless, others already moving. In this land, every morning begins the same way, with calculation. A herd of antelope lifts its heads almost in unison. Ears turn, nostrils flare. Somewhere, beyond the tall grass, a lioness waits, her tawny coat blending with the color of dust and sun. She does not hurry. She has learned patience in a landscape that rewards hesitation as much as speed. One misstep, one burst of wasted energy, and the hunt ends before it begins. Above them, vultures draw slow circles in the warm air. They are not hunters, but they understand this land better than most. Their lives depend on conflict, on the inevitable outcome of pursuit and collapse. Where predators clash with prey, they are never far behind, reading the signals written on the ground. Along a rocky outcrop, a leopard moves like a shadow with weight. Silent. Efficient. Its eyes lock onto a warthog drifting too far from its cover. The distance is measured in heartbeats. An explosive sprint will decide whether the leopard eats tonight or goes hungry until dusk. There is no margin for error here. Hunger is an unforgiving teacher. Hyenas laugh in the distance, their cries carrying across kilometers of open land. They are strategists, opportunists, thieves when necessary, killers when required. Strength alone does not keep them alive. Numbers do. Intelligence does. Knowing when to fight and when to wait can mean the difference between a meal and a fatal wound. Even the most subtle movements carry risk. A snake lies coiled beside a game trail, invisible until it strikes. Venom is its currency. Fast, efficient, relentless. One bite can undo hours of vigilance, turning a strong body into a motionless form beneath the sun. Insects buzz close to the ground, some harmless, others loaded with toxins refined over millions of years. Here, survival is not a single battle. It is an ongoing negotiation. Energy is spent carefully, risks are weighed constantly. Every animal lives within a web of invisible calculations: speed versus endurance, aggression versus caution, hunger versus exposure. There are no safe moments, only quiet ones, and yet within this constant tension, certain presences disturb the balance. Shapes that do not flee when expected, movements that ignore the rules carved into muscle memory by generations of losses. They move through this world differently, leaving behind ripples of unease. The land remembers these encounters. Scars mark tree trunks where claws once raked. Broken nests lie abandoned. Burrows collapse, forcing their occupants into the open. Not every conflict here ends in death, but each one reshapes the fragile order that holds this ecosystem together. To understand why, one must first understand the stage itself. This vast and unforgiving terrain, its heat, its seasons, its endless horizons, creates the conditions for conflict long before teeth touch flesh. Geography dictates the rules, and every living being must learn them. Because in Africa, survival does not begin with the predator, but with the land that made it. The land stretches in every direction, vast and indifferent, shaped by time more than by any creature that walks upon it. Here, survival is written into the soil itself. The African landscape is not a single place, but a mosaic of extremes, each demanding a different strategy, each testing life in its own relentless way. Across the open savannas, grasslands ripple like a living sea beneath the wind. Tall stalks sway and whisper, hiding both hunter and prey within their shifting cover. During the day, the sun falls mercilessly, flattening shadows and pulling moisture from every living thing. Heat shimmers above the ground, blurring the horizon until land and sky seem to dissolve into one. Movement slows. Breathing becomes precious. Beyond the grasslands stretch thorny scrublands, tangled and dense. Low shrubs scrape at everything that passes. Their thorns remind that even the plants here are armed. Insects buzz constantly, filling the air with an electric tension. Lizards dart among the rocks. Small mammals dive into holes at the first vibration of approaching danger. Nothing here wastes unnecessary energy. Farther out, the land hardens into desert. The earth cracks and splits under years of drought, its surface bleached beneath an unforgiving sun. Life retreats underground or into the narrow windows of dawn and dusk. Tracks in the sand tell brief stories. Who passed, who pursued, who escaped, but the wind quickly erases them. In this place, exposure can be as deadly as any predator. Then there are the riverbanks, thin ribbons of water cutting through hostile terrain. Green life bursts along their edges, reeds, trees, flowering plants, drawing animals from kilometers away. These corridors vibrate with life and danger in equal measure. Crocodiles lie motionless at the water's edge. Hooves churn the mud into slippery traps. Every visit is a gamble. As daylight fades, the landscape transforms again. Shadows lengthen, stretching across the ground like reaching fingers. The air cools, nightlife awakens. Insects rise in clouds, their buzzing forming a constant, vibrating chorus. Eyes reflect the faint light of darkness, some searching, others waiting. The seasons dictate everything. The rains arrive and vanish, rivers swell and then shrink to dusty scars. Food appears in sudden abundance and disappears just as quickly. Animals move, adapt, endure or perish. The land offers no second chances. And amid all this, through grass, stone, sand and shadow, there are creatures that refuse to be limited to a single domain. Animals that rely not only on speed or strength, but on adaptability, on persistence, on the willingness to face whatever challenge the terrain presents. Close to the ground, moving with determination, one of those figures crosses from scrub into open grass. Its snout brushes the earth, reading a map invisible to others. Its claws, already scarred and blunted from years of digging, scrape lightly at the soil as it pauses, listens and moves again. This landscape does not favour it. It challenges it. And yet the honey badger survives here, not by dominating one corner of the land, but by confronting it all. In full daylight, the honey badger is easier to see, but harder to understand. It is not large. Standing low, crouched, its body is long and compact, and it rarely weighs more than a medium-sized dog. Yet everything about its form suggests endurance rather than speed, resilience rather than elegance. It is a body shaped for confrontation. Its body is dense, heavy with muscles close to the ground. Its short legs anchor it firmly, lowering its center of gravity and making it difficult to topple or pin down. When it moves, it does not glide or stalk. It advances with a rocking, deliberate step, shoulders rising and falling like pistons beneath thick skin. There is no wasted motion here. Every step has weight. The head is broad and flattened, wedge-shaped. Its small eyes sit low and forward, protected by bone and muscle rather than by the speed of reflexes. The snout is blunt, constantly moving, shifting from side to side as it samples the air and ground. Smell guides everything. Sight follows. Then there are the claws, long, curved and brutally strong. They extend from powerful forelimbs, built for digging more than chasing. With these claws, the honey badger can tear through hardened soil, rip open termite mounds, break apart rotting logs, and collapse burrows, reinforced by the desperate digging of prey trying to escape. Soil sprays outward as it digs, with a dull, rhythmic sound like a drum beneath the surface of the earth. Its teeth complete the picture. The jaws are not designed for slicing like those of a cat, but for crushing. Thick canines bite down with force, refusing to release once they make contact. The skull is reinforced, the neck short and extremely strong, allowing the animal to shake, twist, and tear without losing control. But perhaps its most remarkable feature lies just beneath the fur. The honey badger's skin is unusually thick and loose, especially around the neck and shoulders. It moves independently of the muscle beneath it, sliding and twisting when grabbed. For predators that rely on a precise bite to the throat, this becomes a fatal problem. Even when caught, the honey badger can turn within its own skin, attacking any opponent. When it feels threatened, its posture changes instantly. The body flattens, the back arches, the head lifts just enough to expose the teeth in a silent and unmistakable warning. This is not deception, it is preparation. Every aspect of this anatomy has a purpose. Nothing is decorative, nothing exists for display. The honey badger is not fast, nor elegant, nor imposing at a distance. Its power is revealed only up close, in the moments when retreat is no longer an option. And in those moments, that compact and modest form becomes something completely different. A living mechanism created to endure pain, apply force, and refuse submission. This is not the body of a sprinter. It is the body of an animal that expects the fight to come to it and intends to finish it. When danger finally makes contact, when teeth close and venom flows, the honey badger reveals the trait that has made it infamous in the African bush. What stops most animals simply does not stop at this one. Its skin is thick, far thicker than expected for an animal of its size, but thickness alone does not explain its survival. What truly sets it apart is the behavior of that skin. It hangs loose over the body, especially around the neck and shoulders, forming a flexible layer that moves independently of the underlying muscle. When a predator bites, it rarely achieves full control. The grip slips, the prey shifts, and in that moment of confusion, the honey badger turns. Trapped in the jaws of a larger animal, it twists violently, rotating within its own skin. Teeth scrape fur instead of flesh. Claws strike backward, searching for anything vulnerable. The precision of a leopard becomes useless. The strength of a hyena becomes clumsy. Even when lifted off the ground, the honey badger keeps fighting, lashing upward, biting faces, refusing to surrender. Stinging bees fare no better. When a hive erupts into chaos, thousands of bees crowd together in defense, filling the air with a furious buzz. For most mammals, this is a barrier that hunger could not justify. For the honey badger, it is an obstacle, painful, yes, but temporary. The thick skin dampens the strongest stings. The dense fur limits exposure. The badger endures, opening comb after comb with its claws, feeding while the swarm roars around it. Then there is venom. In the savannah, venom is definitive. Snakes rely on it to end fights instantly, to immobilize their prey before it can escape or retaliate. A single bite can collapse lungs, paralyze hearts, and shut down the nervous system. The honey badger does not avoid these confrontations, it seeks them. When attacked by a venomous snake, the effect is undeniable. The badger may stagger, its muscles numbing, as the toxins spread through its body. Sometimes it collapses completely, lying motionless in the dust. as if dead. For minutes, it does not move. No breath is visible. The earth seems to claim another victim. And then, slowly, the body moves. Although the venom takes its toll, it does not finish the job. The physiology of the honey badger allows it to survive doses that would kill other mammals much larger. Recovery follows, unsteady at first, then resolute. The fight resumes, often ending with the snake lifeless beneath crushing jaws. Few animals can endure such punishment. A lion depends on speed and power to avoid a prolonged struggle. A cheetah must kill quickly or retreat. Even bulky predators cannot afford to suffer repeated injuries. The honey badger lives by different rules. It does not rely on avoiding pain. It survives by absorbing it. In a land where weakness is exposed instantly, this living armor allows the honey badger to do what others cannot: remain in the fight long enough for danger itself to fail. Brute strength alone does not explain the honey badger's survival. Many animals possess power. Far fewer possess judgment. What truly elevates this animal beyond its size is a mind adapted to problem solving, shaped by experience and sharpened by consequences. In the wild, the honey badger moves with intention. It pauses often not from hesitation, but to assess. With its snout raised and body still, it scents the air, listening as much as smelling. Each pause gathers information. Every change in direction reflects a decision. This is not uncontrolled instinct, it is awareness in action. Faced with an obstacle, the honey badger experiments. In recorded encounters, individuals have been observed stacking objects to reach elevated food, manipulating debris to escape enclosures, and trying multiple strategies before settling on one. A fallen log is not just shelter, it is a lever. A rock is not an obstacle, it is a tool waiting to be used. These behaviors are uncommon among mammals except primates and corvids, and almost unheard of in solitary carnivores. Memory plays a crucial role. Once it discovers a food source, the honey badger remembers its location and returns, sometimes days or weeks later, moving across the terrain with unsettling precision. Dangerous encounters are also recorded and adjusted. A failed attempt is not repeated blindly, it is refined. This intelligence becomes most evident when escape is the only option. Trapped, cornered, or outmatched, the honey badger does not panic, it searches. It tests boundaries, probes weaknesses, digs, climbs, bites, waits. Time becomes an ally rather than an enemy. In the wild, this translates into a predator that does not rush its decisions. It patiently watches burrow entrances, waiting for vibrations beneath the ground. It calculates raids on nests with precision, striking when defenders are absent or distracted. Even in combat it adapts, changing angles, targeting more vulnerable areas, withdrawing briefly only to rejoin the fight from a new direction. Sometimes this intelligence reaches beyond the badger itself. Above, a small bird flutters from branch to branch, calling insistently. Its movements are purposeful, almost beckoning. The honey badger looks up, listens, and then follows. It's not coincidence. It is the beginning of an unusual alliance, one that crosses the boundaries between species and is based on mutual understanding rather than dominance. But that story comes later. For now, what matters is this: the honey badger does not survive by chance. Every scar is a lesson learned. Every successful raid reinforces a strategy. Intelligence allows it to turn risk into reward, danger into opportunity. In a landscape that punishes mistakes without mercy, thought becomes a weapon. And the honey badger wields it with a quiet and unsettling skill. Food in the wild is never guaranteed. It appears briefly, disappears suddenly and often comes at a price. For most predators, survival depends on specialization, refining their abilities around a limited range of prey. The honey badger follows a different rule. It feeds on whatever the land offers, whatever its form. Its diet is extensive. Insects are often its first target. Termite mounds rise like fortresses from the ground, but the honey badger treats them as invitations. Its claws tear through hardened walls, sending soldiers rushing into the open. The badger feeds quickly and methodically, unconcerned by biting jaws or chemical defenses. Beetles, larvae, scorpions, nothing small is discarded. Rodents follow, with its snout pressed to the earth. The honey badger senses subtle vibrations beneath the soil. A pause, a tilt of the head, then an explosion of dirt as the claws plunge in. Burrows collapse in seconds. Mice, gerbils and ground squirrels are dragged into the light, their escape routes erased by sheer persistence. Birds rarely expect danger from below. Nests, hidden among brush or low branches, feel safe until the honey badger arrives. It climbs with surprising dexterity, gripping bark and thorns alike, tearing apart woven shelters and devouring eggs or chicks with quick, efficient movements. The act is neither cruel nor hurried, it simply feeds. Reptiles are captured with the same ease. Lizards race across rocks, too slow to escape determination. Turtle shells are tested and overturned. Snakes, coiled in shadow, are tracked and confronted rather than avoided. Not even carrion is ignored. A carcass abandoned by larger predators becomes a resource stripped by powerful jaws that waste nothing. This willingness to eat almost anything gives the honey badger an advantage few animals share. When drought intensifies and specialists begin to starve, the honey badger adapts. When prey migrates or disappears, it shifts focus. There is no single dependence, no fragile link that can be broken. The process is always physical. Sniffing, scraping, digging, tearing. The ground around a feeding honey badger tells a story of disturbance. Scattered soil, destroyed nests, erased tracks. It leaves behind evidence not of chaos, but of efficiency. As the sun climbs higher, the heat tightens and many predators retreat into shade. The honey badger continues. Hunger does not wait for comfort. It moves among thorns, dust and stones, driven by a metabolism that demands constant intake. Yet among all these food sources, some carry greater risk than others. Some fight back with speed, others with strength, and a few rely on something far more final: venom. It is here, at the boundary between hunger and danger, that the honey badger's reputation truly takes shape. The air tightens when venom enters the story. In the African bush, venom is not just a weapon, it is a promise. A quick end, a clean solution to the chaos of struggle. Snakes rely on it because they must. They do not dominate, they finish. The honey badger does not respect that contract. In the broken shade beneath a thorn tree, a snake lies coiled, its body held in precise tension. Every muscle is prepared for a single explosive movement. Flicking tongues taste the air. The ground vibrates faintly, low and heavy footsteps approaching without caution. The honey badger advances, head lowered, claws scraping softly against stone. The strike comes without warning, fangs drive into flesh. Venom is delivered in full, designed over millions of years to silence nerve signals, lock muscles and stop breathing. The honey badger recoils, tearing with its crushing jaws. Both forms collide in an explosion of dust and movement, twisting, biting, constricting. Seconds stretch, then silence. The badger stumbles, its movements slow, coordination unraveling as the venom spreads. Legs stiffen. The body sways and then collapses onto its side. For a moment, it seems finished, another victim claimed by chemistry and speed. The snake, mortally wounded, lies nearby. The earth waits. Minutes pass. With the heat, insects crawl across the motionless fur. The sun continues to rise. Then, almost imperceptibly, the badger's chest lifts. A paw twitches. The muscles, once locked, begin to respond again. Slowly, with unsteady steps, the animal rises. Its gait is clumsy at first, its gaze unfocused, but it is alive. This is not immunity. Venom works. It overwhelms. It incapacitates. But it does not complete its task. Physiology buys time. Thick skin limits absorption. Cellular resistance slows uptake. Metabolism carries the toxins without surrendering completely. The honey badger weathers the storm and then walks away. Scorpions meet a similar fate. Their stingers strike in rapid succession, injecting toxins designed to paralyze much smaller prey. The honey badger barely hesitates. It bites, crushes, consumes, accepting the sting as part of the exchange. The pain registers, but it does not determine the outcome. These encounters are not reckless displays. They are calculated risks assumed by an animal that understands its own limits and how far they extend. The honey badger does not pursue danger for spectacle. It confronts it because on the other side there is food. In a land where venom ends most stories quickly, survival after the attack rewrites the rules. Lessons without words spread through the ecosystem. Snakes avoid, predators hesitate, encounters that should be definitive remain unfinished. This is how reputation forms in nature. Not through myth, but through repeated survival, where survival should not exist. Venom means death for almost everything here. For the honey badger, it is just another test. Size governs the savanna until it no longer does. Lions dominate through their mass and coordination. Hyenas through their numbers and endurance. Leopards through their speed and precision. Each predator maintains its place within a carefully balanced hierarchy, imposed not by constant violence, but by recognition. Most animals know when they are outnumbered. They retreat before contact, preserving life through submission. The honey badger does not play that game. When it encounters the African giants, it does not challenge them for territory or prey. It acts in a far more disruptive way. It refuses to yield. The confrontation begins long before teeth touch flesh, marked by posture and movement more than by strength. A lion approaches a carcass, its mane darkened with blood and its gaze fixed on the ground. From the grass, a smaller figure advances, crouched and deliberate. The honey badger raises its head and arches its back, its fur bristling and its tail rigid. It opens its mouth wide, exposing its teeth. There is no charge, there is no retreat, only a soundless warning. The lion hesitates, not out of fear, but calculation. The prize is food, the price is injury. Even a minor wound can mean weeks of hunger, infection, or death. The honey badger does not offer a clean outcome. It promises chaos. The lion steps back, then another. The honey badger claims the space and feeds. Hyenas react differently. They test the limits, circling, vocalizing, searching for weak points. The honey badger turns to face every movement, never presenting its back. It lunges suddenly, biting at faces, forcing the hyenas to scatter. Alone, the badger would not win a prolonged fight. Leopards, masters of the ambush, approach with caution. They understand precision. They understand risk. When a honey badger is present, they avoid ground confrontation entirely, retreating to the trees where their advantage remains intact. The badger does not pursue them. The conflict ends without contact. These encounters are not acts of dominance. The honey badger does not overthrow the hierarchy. It exploits its fragility. Large predators survive by minimizing damage. The honey badger survives by making damage inevitable. Its body language is unmistakable. Bristling posture, raised fur, fixed gaze. It is not a bluff to scare, it is a signal of intent. If you engage, it will hurt. Across the savannah, this message is understood. The honey badger becomes a mobile exclusion zone, a creature that belongs to no rank but disrupts them all. It takes scraps, steals prey, walks through contested spaces without permission. In a world governed by power, the honey badger wields something rarer: unpredictability. And among predators, that may be the most dangerous trait of all. As the sun sinks and the heat dissipates, Africa exhales, the glow fades, shadows stretch and merge. What was once visible becomes suggested, hinted through sound and movement rather than sight. Night does not bring rest here, it brings revelation. The air fills first. Insects rise in dense clouds, their wings producing a constant vibrating hum that blankets the darkness. Crickets sing in overlapping rhythms. Beetles crunch against dry grass. Each sound marks a life awake and active, extended by lower temperatures and the reduced risk of the dominant hunters of the day. Owls cross the sky, their wings cutting through the air without a whisper. Their heads rotate with unnatural smoothness as they listen for the faintest rustle below. A single squeak, a misstep, and the strike follows, swift, invisible, final. Above them, bats weave erratic patterns against the stars, hunting insects that never hear them approaching. On the ground, jackals announce themselves with sharp calls that echo across the plains. Their voices overlap and separate, defining territory through sound alone. Nearby, a snake slides through dry leaves, its scales softly brushing the earth. The warning is subtle, the danger is not. This is the moment when the honey badger moves most freely. Close to the ground, it emerges from its shelter, its silhouette barely breaking the surface of the night. It walks with the confidence of familiarity, guided more by sound and smell than sight. Its snout moves constantly, following trails left minutes or hours earlier. Each pause is a moment of listening. Each change of direction responds to something only it can perceive. Footsteps crunch softly, claws scrape stone, the badger stops. The chorus of insects falters for a fraction of a second, a signal that something has changed. Then it digs, the soil collapsing inward as a hidden burrow is uncovered. A brief struggle, the night absorbs the sound and returns silence. Predators cross paths in the darkness more often than by day. Encounters are closer and reactions faster. Eyes shine briefly and then disappear. None of this makes the honey badger invincible. It can be injured, it can be overwhelmed, it can die. Young individuals often die. Even adults are vulnerable to coordinated attacks or extreme environmental conditions. The difference lies in how often the honey badger reaches those limits compared to others of its size. Internet mythology removes this nuance. Courage becomes stupidity. Survival becomes invulnerability. Reality is quieter and more impressive. What the honey badger demonstrates is an evolutionary solution to constraint. When speed is limited and size is modest, persistence becomes power. When escape is uncertain, deterrence becomes survival. Across generations, the individuals that endured a little longer, that tolerated pain a little better, that learned from each encounter, were the ones that lived long enough to reproduce. Fear did not disappear, it was repurposed. The honey badger feels pain, it experiences stress, it avoids unnecessary dangers whenever it can. But when retreat would cost more than resistance, it commits fully. This commitment is what other animals perceive. It changes outcomes even before contact occurs. Reputation in nature is a form of communication. The honey badger's was forged through countless interactions where expectations failed, predators hesitated, venom did not finish the job, and its small size did not predict defeat. The myth exaggerates. Biology explains it. Between the two, there is something more convincing than a legend, a real animal shaped by pressure, that survives not because it fears nothing, but because it understands exactly what fear is worth. Change rarely announces itself in nature. It infiltrates quietly, one step at a time, a path opened in dry earth, a river diverted just enough to alter the insects that feed the birds that feed everything else. For most African wildlife, survival has always meant adaptation. Seasons change, droughts return. Prey migrates, predators follow them. The honey badger is a product of this long instability, created not for a single niche, but for flexibility itself. That flexibility now faces a different kind of pressure. Farms replace scrublands. Livestock graze where antelope once moved freely. Fences fragment territories into pieces too small to sustain the old rhythms. Roads cut across feeding routes, turning nocturnal wanderings into lethal crossings. None of this affects the honey badger directly, but it all changes the rules it evolved to follow. At first glance, the honey badger appears well suited to survive human intrusion. It eats almost anything, it digs under barriers, it adapts to altered prey communities, it can live closer to people than many large predators. But resilience is not immunity. As ecosystems weaken, the honey badger's adaptability becomes more of a warning than a victory. Its presence on farmland often indicates that something is missing, that it is displacing larger predators, that complex food webs are being simplified, and that natural controls are quietly being removed. When scavenging increases and conflict with humans arises, survival becomes political. Poison meant for snakes or rodents does not discriminate. Traps set for other animals catch honey badgers just as easily. Retaliation comes quickly when poultry is raided or beehives are destroyed. Roads do not reward intelligence or tenacity. They only punish opportunity. Even for an animal accustomed to risk, these dangers are asymmetric. There is no body language to interpret, no bluff to test, no recovery after impact. The deepest fragility lies beyond the honey badger itself. Its success depends on a functioning ecosystem, on insects that emerge with the rains, on burrowing prey that shape the soil, on predators that maintain balance. If enough of these threads are removed, adaptability becomes desperation. Evolution works on long-time scales. Human change does not. The honey badger can adjust its behavior throughout its life. It cannot rebuild landscapes, reconnect corridors, or restore lost complexity on its own. Paradoxically, its survival now depends less on its own resilience and more on moderation elsewhere. In a world increasingly shaped by human decisions, the honey badger represents an indicator of what still functions and what is quietly failing. It is not a conqueror of change, it is a negotiator pushing its limits at a shifting frontier. Whether that negotiation continues or ends is something the animal itself will not decide. The wind now moves through the grasslands with a softness it rarely showed in previous months. Shadows stretch beneath the acacias, tilting gently as if in silent reverence toward the creatures below. Dust no longer rises in great clouds of urgency. The earth exhales slowly, measured, patient. In this stillness, the honey badger walks alone, unhurried yet alert, a figure shaped by struggle and instinct. It stops, its snout low, sensing vibrations imperceptible to the human eye. Its claws scrape softly through the earth, softened by seasonal rains. Its posture is relaxed, yet every movement is precise, muscles and memory working together. Here in solitude, the honey badger does not display bravery. It demonstrates something more subtle: resilience, adaptation, the quiet insistence that life continues despite hardship, despite danger. Across the landscape, other animals appear in a muted rhythm. Grazing antelope, distant jackals, the occasional vulture circling above, all coexist within the same fragile balance. Predators and prey navigate the world with caution, calculation, and occasional cooperation. The honey badger does not dominate this system, it navigates it, creating spaces where opportunity and survival intersect. Its path is never straight, its success never guaranteed, but it moves forward, persistent and deliberate. The savanna itself feels different at this hour. The sun, low and amber, casts long golden bands across the land and sky. The grass bends with the faintest breeze, insects hum softly, and shadows hide in quiet corners. The world is neither indulgent nor cruel. It is simply alive, and within it, the honey badger embodies survival not as spectacle, but as a silent and patient mastery of circumstance. Every scar on its body tells a story. Every encounter with venom, predator or obstacle carries a memory etched into instinct. Every moment of foraging, digging or climbing is a rehearsal of resilience. It is not invincibility that defines this creature, but the capacity to persist where others falter, to endure where others would fall, and to interpret the rules of a hostile world with clarity and patience. As darkness approaches again, the honey badger settles briefly, curling into a shallow depression among the grass. It does not sleep deeply. Its senses remain alert, attentive to the most subtle shifts in sound and movement. It is both observer and participant, witness to the cycles of life and death that define the savanna. In its presence, the landscape feels vast and intimate, full of continuity and risk. The story of the honey badger is not a story of conquest. It is not legend nor myth, despite what the tales suggest. It is a living testimony of survival in its purest form, endurance shaped by challenge, intelligence tempered by necessity, and persistence measured in quiet, deliberate steps. Beneath the golden light, it advances, a solitary figure against the immensity. And so, before the calm and measured presence of the observer, the savanna teaches a final lesson. Life is not about invincibility. It is about adaptation, restraint, observation, and the courage to continue. Here, at the edge of grass and shadow, the honey badger moves forward, always in motion, always surviving, always observing. What do you think? Tell us in the comments, and don't forget to visit our channel to learn more.